Cool. I guess we can start with some introductions. So I'm Meredith. I'm the community manager here at Oasis. I am excited to introduce to everyone Leon from Lucky Stack and Philip from Unbound Nation. So if you guys wouldn't mind giving a short introduction, we can start with you, Leon.
Yeah, sure, everyone. Hi, my name's Leon. I'm a software engineer. I used to work on projects that connects game engines to the blockchain. Nowadays, I work on and tinker with a lot of Web3 mini games, one of them being Blocky Stack. Thanks.
Hey, I'm Philip. I'm one of the co-founders of Unbound Nation. And we are building, if you want to use Web2 terminology, an Airbnb for gaming NFTs. So a platform where NFT owners can plug in their NFTs and gamers on the other side of the platform can rent those NFTs and play with them in games.
Oh, super cool. How exciting. Yeah, we're really glad that you guys took the time to be here with us this morning. And I know there is a lot of people in the community who are pumped up for the Blocky Stack tournament, which is happening right after we finish this discussion. But for now, let's hop into it. So basically, we're just going to be asking some questions that we've gotten from the community and general interest about games. So maybe we can just get the conversation started by you guys sharing what your favorite game of all time is.
I can go first. Let's see. In terms of hours, I'd say like the Diablo series. I think that game has a lot of elements baked in, such as farming. You can craft. You can level up your character. There's like a community aspect to it, and of course like the different series. So if you stick with one game like Diablo 1, you can kind of figure things out and kind of go to 2 or 3, etc. So yeah, I'd say number of hours, Diablo.
Nice. How about you, Philip? What's your favorite game of all time?
Yeah, that's such a tough question. I always try to avoid it, but maybe name a couple. I very much enjoyed Metal Gear Solid on PlayStation because it kind of it just really excited me. And then in terms of hours played, definitely Counter-Strike, CS 1.4, I think.
Nice. Yeah, we recently polled the community and a lot of our ambassadors about which games they like to play the most, and those two were definitely on the list. So I'm sure there's some fellow fans in the audience with you guys. So what about Web3 gaming? I know that, that the topic that's very hot right now, obviously, and of interest to all of us because we all have, done work with gaming, would be Web3 gaming. So do you have a Web3 game, Leon, besides Blocky Stack that you like to play?
Yeah, I played Axie pretty early on, maybe like a year and a half ago. I played DeFi Kingdoms, but I think the one game that kind of stuck with me, even though it's not really a game, is CryptoKitties. So that happened a while back. If you look into the technical stuff, it's quite technical in terms of like all the numbers and the breeding. But it's also like really fun on the outside of just seeing really cool images. So I'd say, yeah, CryptoKitties.
For me, I would say a game that's just come out last week, which is Immortal.game. It's a chess game with an additional layer on top of it. So the traditional chess game is preserved. You can play with up to 4 NFT chess pieces, and those chess pieces contain quests. So these are side quests that are unknown to your opponent. So you try to win the chess game, and at the same time try to complete those quests, which give you then extra points. That's so far. I think it's a brilliant game because of those 2 layers. Many of the other Web3 games, I don't know. I wouldn't really consider a lot of those games. A lot of those are just click to earn kind of schemes, and or let's say DeFi protocols with a gaming interface. So yeah, I haven't seen that many exciting games out there. Meta Soccer, for example, is another one that I think is great and it's already live still, but still in development, and the team is pushing out some new features every day. Let's say a football manager or soccer manager. That's also very exciting. They've already partnered with a lot of real life players. Very much like that project, and I've played a lot of football manager games myself in the past, so that's one of the games I'm very excited about.
That's awesome. And I'm sorry, Philip, what was the name of the chess game?
Immortal. So the website is immortal.game.
Oh, that sounds super cool. Yeah, I think Leon, to the point about CryptoKitties, I remember whenever CryptoKitties first came out, and this was, before I think that like NFTs and GameFi has become what it is today. So the breeding of the kitties and, shutting down the Ethereum network from the network activity of CryptoKitties, it was an amazing time. And I think we've come a really long way since that first happened.
Yeah, it was quite historical.
Yeah, most definitely. And it was actually really cool to be a part of that and to just look and see how things have transformed from then until now. But yeah, so next question that I'd be really curious to know is, what was your favorite childhood game?
I mean, I still play these games, but like Tetris is like an super old school game, and like Super Mario. Yeah, just like really good classic games.
Love Super Mario.
Yeah, yeah, I can talk about that like all the time. Like speed runs, all that. It's kind of nerdy.
Now that you're mentioning that, I'm thinking Mario Party. Mario Party was just a crazy game. I think I still remember the palms of my hand with all the blisters and rubbing off all the skin from all those mini games. But I'd say The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time is one of the games where I felt it was the first time I had this open world experience as a kid, where I thought, okay, this world is kind of endless, and I can ride Epona, the horse, everywhere. Yeah, that really stuck with me.
Yeah, most definitely. And just on that point of your childhood, maybe you could both talk about what got you into gaming in the first place, or who got you into gaming in the first place.
Yeah, I think it was my neighbor. Like, I lived in a small community. There were kids playing basketball, baseball, and I think one of them bought just a console, and yeah, we started playing, and I realized like, oh wow, there's like a lot more to it than um, just entertainment. There's like the side of community, as Philip mentioned. There's like a competitive side, like all of that. So I got more interested in like less about the games and more of like, oh, what else can you explore in terms of like the digital side.
And I don't remember exactly, but I think it was at my great grandparents that had the first Nintendo, and then I got a Super Nintendo for it's been my 6th birthday maybe. And then I played a lot with my dad, and the first game that I owned was a soccer game. I think International Superstar Soccer Deluxe, something like that.
Cool, Philip. I'm sensing that you're a huge soccer fan. I see that you have a lot of interest in soccer games.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for me, it's actually, I was more of an observer. My brother used to play the PlayStation, and I would sit behind him whenever he was playing games like Silent Hill. And then, of course, like as I got older, got into RuneScape and some other MMORPG games. And we were kind of discussing this before, but I think it's really interesting to see, how RuneScape had, a lot of the game features from RuneScape were featured, and a lot of the ideas that we have in Web3 gaming and governance. Yeah, so for the next question, I'd also be interested to know what game is fueling your passion for this industry.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, what game is fueling your passion for this industry? So is there a particular game that you're passionate about, or that really just brings together all of the things that you want to see or would like to see in Web3 gaming?
Yeah, I think this is more. It's actually the games that I uh, would wish to see, because I see a lot of AAA Web 2 games. They're killing it, and then I see the Web 3 games today, and not so much. So like, there's this huge gap between the Web 2 guys and the Web 3 guys, and so what kind of fuels me is trying to bridge that gap. The more you dig into it, the more I realize like, oh, we're just missing a lot of tooling, like a lot of infrastructure. Um, but yeah, the goal is to make that gap a little bit closer.
Yeah, for me, it's actually a Web 2 game, which is FIFA, and it's not because it has so many of the elements that I would like to see, but it's exactly the opposite. So the fact that in many of those traditional Web 2 games that heavily rely on in-game purchases, such as the FIFA Ultimate Team, there's absolutely no ownership. So the terms of service don't allow you to sell your teams. And at the same time, if the next iteration of FIFA comes out, which is usually every year, then everything you purchased in the previous year is useless in the latest version of it. So it's just it's a big money grab in my view, and I've been furious about this for a long time. So I'm very very excited and very happy that digital ownership is now possible with blockchain technology. And that is where my passion comes from. I really really want to get away from from these games where we as gamers spend a lot of money on purchasing assets, and then the terms of service of so many of those AAA games that are out there and Web 2 forbid you to trade those assets once you want to exit the game or don't have time anymore for it, or for whatever other reason.
Yeah, I think those are great points that you both made. And so that kind of leads us into our next question about your passion in games in general, or what you would like to see. When it comes to gaming, which one is more important to you, the action of the game or the story of the game?
Oh, wow, that's a really good question. I think it depends on the game. Like I think Philip mentioned Counter Strike. I'm also into Counter Strike. I used to play 1.6, Source, and then Go. Uh, I don't think there's a story to that one. But other games like the Final Fantasy games, it's very around like a good storyline. So I think it really depends. Depends on the audience, depends on the style, depends on the developers. Yeah, I'd say 50-50.
Yeah, I agree. I personally I'm very competitive in any game I play, be it a digital game or even if we play a pickup basketball game or whatever. I always want to win, and I always try to win. So action definitely is an element that excites me. Just like Leon said, Counter Strike for me was big, and there isn't really a story to that, just the competition. But then there are beautiful games with beautiful stories that are also that I love playing. So I think both elements have the merit, and both style of games. Yeah, I like both style of games.
Yeah, I agree with both of you that I think there's pretty equal importance when it comes to being like an engaging, fun, action-packed game, and actually having a good story behind it. That they both matter a lot. So the next question is for you, Leon, in particular. Our community knows you. Many of them have been playing the highly addictive game Blocky Stack. Congrats on your win of the Gitcoin Hackathon. We were all really excited to see your project be born out of that. But if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about your inspiration behind Blocky Stack and just explaining the game a little bit.
Yeah, so just overall, I wanted a game that's simple, so you can go in, figure things out in a couple seconds. Just have one button to click. So that's quite easy to pick up on. And another thing I realized in the Web3 gaming space is you have to buy in. Almost a lot of these games you have to buy in to participate. You have to buy some Axies, you have to buy some characters on DFK, etc. My second goal was to make it so where you can play without owning any tokens. I think that's like a really good segue into Web2 to Web3 gamers. A lot of people just want to try things out, right? They don't have to buy things upfront. And the third part is, besides building games, I also enjoy like building infrastructure. So I was involved in creating software that connects game engines to the blockchain. So Unity to the Oasis Emerald. So I wanted to experiment with that. There are lots of like tokenomics involved in terms of building that bridge. And in terms of overall how the game's set up is, you can play for free, but by default the blocks are white. But if you want, you can purchase these NFTs, and they all have a different color. So token ID is mapped to a specific color. For example, 0 is mapped to token ID 0 is mapped to the color of black, or hex 00000 or RGB 0. So you have all these different token IDs that represent a different number. And what's cool is if you collect a set of 4, you have certain perks in the game. I won't spoil that for you. There are also other perks in the game right now. So yeah, those are the goals. More of like a Web2 game that has like Web3 integration.
Yeah, I think that from what I can tell from the community and feedback that we've gotten, and I'm sure you've seen it yourself, is that element of not having to buy in and just being able to play the game and enjoy it. And it's kind of like an easy on-ramp for a lot of people who maybe are not as familiar with Web3 gaming to be able to get started playing and kind of pique their interest. So I'm excited for the tournament right after this. I hope that some people in the audience will be joining us and going head to head to see if they can get the high score on BlockyStack. So yeah, we have just a few more questions, and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up so we can move on to this exciting tournament that we have going. But in your opinion, in both of your opinion, what is something that Web3 games enable that Web2 games don't? This is not a trick question. I think there's many things that Web3 games enable that Web2 games don't. But I'd be interested to hear what you guys think.
Yeah, I think Philip touched up on this a little bit, and that's ownership. So yeah, I'll let him go off on that. Like my goal is to create like a completely decentralized game stack. So, for example, the front end would be hosted on some sort of like perma storage, like Arweave or IPFS or Filecoin, that type of setup. The back end that handles all the data is on an EVM, such as Oasis, and then some sort of peer-to-peer network that we have right now between all the different nodes, like libp2p, for like multiplayer. So if you have like these building blocks, you can kind of build these completely decentralized games that you can't replicate in the Web2 space. I think we're kind of exploring that right now. All the tools are there. It's just a matter of time before someone kind of figures it out and like stitches everything together. But yeah, that's kind of the main thing that I've been working on.
Cool, amazing. So for closing thoughts, I just would love to get you guys to chime in on how you believe blockchain overall will change the gaming industry.
Yeah, I'll pass it to Philip. I'd love to get your thoughts.
Yeah, I think as soon as we overcome the resistance from the traditional gamers, whatever that might be, whoever they might be, and understand that, and we stop talking about technology. I think we market technology too much to the gamers and saying, look, these are NFTs, blockchain, and we try to explain how things work, which nobody really cares about how your Visa card works, right? We know it works. I know I can pay with it. So as soon as we get away from this and people understand how beneficial ownership is to them, I think it's gonna completely change how we view digital assets. And the other part that I'm excited about is it's a bit of a buzzword, but interoperability to some extent. I don't see that much interoperability in the near future, but the fact that you can take some NFTs that live on the blockchain and build, let's say, another experience around them. So an experience that's maybe different from what the original game designers created is something that's very exciting to me. It's probably a bit further down the road, but that's something I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I agree in terms of like composability, right? You can use an NFT across all different games. All that stuff's possible because everything's public, right? Like in a regular Web2 game, it's behind the scenes. So you can build like, you know, another buzzword like more metaverse type setups. I don't know if you guys know, but Vitalik used to be a big World of Warcraft player, and because his character I forgot what happened to his character, but something happened to his character. He didn't have a say in it. He ended up quitting the game to build Ethereum, which is quite funny. I feel like it can kind of come, you know, full circle. Like that was a problem in the beginning of like centralization and like, um, you know, not having a say in all the time that you put into this one game. If you can build like these Web3 games that's open and transferable, you won't run into these types of problems. So yeah, it's quite interesting. If you have time, just Google like Vitalik World of Warcraft, and you can kind of read more into it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Leon and Philip, for joining us for this conversation. I really appreciate the insight that you guys provided, as well as sharing your own personal interests and preferences. I think that our community at Oasis is really looking forward to more coming from Oasis on the subject of gaming. And, you know, right now we have Blocky Stack, we have the Garleys, we have RoomGuard, which will be coming live soon, and about 30 other gaming projects in the pipeline. So I think this topic is just getting started within the Oasis community. And I appreciate you both for joining us. I'm going to let Ronnie take over for a few minutes to explain the tournament and the steps for what's next.
Yes, thank you, Meredith. So next up, the Blocky Stack tournament. We just opened 3 new voice channels called Blocky Stack 1, Blocky Stack 2, Blocky Stack 3. Meredith and Leon are gonna be the moderators for the channel 1, and Diana is gonna take channel 2, and I'm gonna take the channel 3. So how the tournament works, the mods will call out your name one by one, and you have one attempt to get the highest scores. And for the top 4 highest scores, we're gonna move to semifinals. We're gonna close 2 of the channels, and we'll move to Blocky Stack 1 for the semifinals. And winners of the semifinals will go to a final, and losers will go to the second final, and you'll be competing for 10,000 rows. And there is more detailed instructions in the channel called Blocky Stack Tournament. So let's go to these 3 different channels, and let's try to divide everyone evenly.